with another episode of the Fractional C-Suite. Ladies, how are we feeling today?
Casey, I'm feeling good. How are you, Hannah?
I'm feeling great. It's a great Thursday, sunny outside. Finished all my exams on the school note.
Woo woo!
Yay!
Yes. Amen.
Amen. So proud of you, Hannah, because I know the feat of education at every round is a lot, but you're almost there.
Almost there. It's not for the week, but almost there.
Well, ladies, something that's top of mind for me this week, especially, is artificial intelligence and how afraid leaders are of its implications on business, on I think they're relevant to a lot of the people that they're used to serving. And this is not just at the entrepreneurial level. Like, there are folks on LinkedIn that are freaking out every day about what happens to their companies, what happens to their sales, etc. As more and more people have access to AI, specifically generative AI, where it just gets smarter and smarter, and it keeps tailoring for your needs. And I just love y'all's perspective on, what is truly the case in the business landscape, and it's truly the case for businesses that exist. And I know for me, I actually don't see artificial intelligence as being it is disruptive. I will say it's disruptive, but I don't think it's going to make certain jobs extinct. I think that people just need to learn how to use it. Like, it's like the internet. Like, before the internet, folks were using encyclopedias and they were going to libraries, etc., right, to unpack information. And at best, that information was stale by a couple of months, right? In many cases, you had years worth of stale data that folks were leveraging and doing fine with, right? And just like things are faster today because of the use of the open web, and people can scale faster, I think that artificial intelligence presents the same opportunity. Folks just need to learn how to use it, right? I saw a great post today that said, if leaders were to ask better prompts, such as, what stories can I use to illustrate for my team the importance of X, Y, and Z? The chatbot would return some big thematic stories that people understood to drive things home. It said, to put this theme in the voice of Nelson Mandela so that it's more inspiring to the people who follow me. And the chatbot would return something in that tone, right? And so I think it's amazing, right? I think leaders just need to learn how to use it better.
Absolutely, Casey. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that there's a lot of fear around it because we just don't know. And a lot of times with new technologies, there is a hesitancy to adapt because we just don't know what it is. We don't know how it works. And so I've even done my own due diligence to researching, what is this? Where did this come from? And just really understanding, especially like for tools like ChatGPT, which, understanding that it is a language model. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's aggregating so much information, so much data from things that we as human have created, that we have generated. And essentially it is, it's predicting our language. It's predicting how we communicate. And like you said, when you give it those very specific and direct prompts so that it can support us in the way that we really desire to, we really see it as more of a tool instead of a competitor. And I mean, being adaptive in business is not new. I mean, you even think back to like the 17 and 1800s in the Industrial Revolution, when you went from just manually laboring in fields and farms to incorporating machines. If you were stuck back into the old way, you basically were left behind because you weren't able to produce as much, or you weren't able to save some of the crops in ways that these newer technologies were offering. I mean, even back 3 years ago with COVID-19, and how there was a lot of adaptation that needed to take place in order for companies to keep up. So I just really want us, especially as Black women entrepreneurs, we really need to see this as an opportunity more so than as a threat to anything that we're doing, anything that we're creating, anything that we are building. Really challenge yourself to be on the forefront of how these technologies can support you and even help you to do what you do better. So a lot of the tools that we're seeing is just eliminating the need to do repetitive tasks, right? These are things that we don't really need to do them over and over and over again. If we have a tool that can support us, why not, right? And it can even do it sometimes better than we can do it ourselves because of our own human limitations. So I really love to keep the perspective of, here's an opportunity. How can I learn more about this to support what I am generating, what I'm creating, what I'm building, and even just everyday life, looking at all the opportunities that it can provide.
Yeah, I agree. But also would like to shed light on even other entities outside of Black women entrepreneurs utilizing AI. So specifically within the Black community, oftentimes, whether it's technology or just new innovations in healthcare, etc., we are the community that's not getting ignored or even being picked on and manipulated in order to see if these technologies work or not work, especially, prime example in healthcare. And so I'm interested to see how accountability measurements and regulations regarding AI play out, because this is an innovative and an opportunity here, both for good and for harm. And so although it really can help as far as processes go, specifically for Black women entrepreneurs, me as someone, I know I'm getting more and more knowledgeable about AI through research and even just talking with you all, especially you, Latoya. But honestly, I was a little nervous in the sense of, like you mentioned, AI is implemented through humans coding to then creating a language model that is AI. And so without lack of accountability or without regulations, it leaves that up to the individual to assume who's controlling it and if they're providing more value while ensuring ethical practices or just for profit maximizing sake. And so it really is a unique opportunity that really should be treated with critical attention by both private, public, and government entities in order to ensure ethical practices are sustained while this opportunity and this cool technology that is AI is being implemented throughout the world in different ways. And even when it comes to centering the voices specifically of Black women and Black women entrepreneurs, I think it's now critical more than ever to center those voices of Black women when these innovations and these technologies are being implemented, perhaps to support research or to support implementation methods, etc. And so while I do see it as an opportunity, I also see it as a necessary aspect to be critically evaluated by all entities, public, private, and government, especially government when it comes to regulations, because this opportunity that can be valuable to many can also be detrimental to many if not cautious. So yeah.
That's so good. And I think it means it's incumbent upon us to actually play in the builder's market, right? Like, we have to stop waiting for folks to fix it for us and folks to understand our plight and understand our voice. And if we were to lean as Black women and build these tools, much like Blazes is doing right now, build these tools where we are intentionally building out models and prompts that feel safe and familiar to the Black woman, right? So that we're not depending on these institutions to give us a seat at the table or to, make upgrades that make sense to us. I think this is a time to not be fearful and to literally take these tools and take this access to fit it inside of our business models and know that it will scale. Like it will be adopted. It will be loved. It will feel like home. We don't need invitations to this party.
Yeah.
I think even with, I love that you brought the counterbalance to the statement that I made about opportunity, Hannah. It is absolutely necessary. I was listening to another podcast called Leveraging AI, where the host talks a lot about the different tools that are out there that we have access to today, but also, again, bringing that that counter argument, like, okay, these tools are great, but also there's still a lot of opportunity for people to do not so great things with them as well, which is, humanity in general, right? Like, it's like money or anything else. You can use money for good, you can use money for not so good, which to me, it brings home the point that I think communities, especially as we are moving into like a more technologically savvy space, communities are going to be important because, one, there's trust within community. So you can talk like a Black woman. You can have AI help you talk like a Black woman and kind of project that sort of voice to your audience. But if you already have a solidified community, that an engaged community, a supportive community, it's going to be hard to trick us. Where we are already established and we are already grounded in the foundation of the community that we have already built. So that, to me, I think is going to be another point to just keep in mind, as these tools come out. Don't just trust everything you see and hear, because it might not be what you think it is. But there is strength in numbers and there is strength in community, especially when it comes to building business. We are not about doing anything alone. Casey, I know you have that quote that you always share since the inception of Blaze about how much farther we can go together instead of just trying to do things fast, because fast might not always be genuine. Fast might not always be authentic or sustainable. So I think that for me, I really anchor down in community as these things are starting to come up. There's going to be more and more. We're just like at the onset of it. So community is going to be really key here too.
I agree. And especially from a global lens too, right? Like, in many parts of the world that are not as detached and fast-paced and glued to productivity, right, as we are in Western societies, community is everything. Like, you can't pitch a product without getting past gatekeepers who protect the community. Like, you can't have a monetary transaction without breaking bread in somebody's home and them actually figuring out whether they trust you or not, right? And I think, and this is especially important for Black women who are now, there's an awakening happening for us, right? Where we're now being audacious enough to say, what if I go bigger than my city? What if it's statewide? What if I go bigger than the state? What if it's nationwide? What if I go bigger than this country, right? And go cross-continental, right? And that's such an important point about community. Like, content was king in the States, right? Where the internet made information accessible to everybody, right? So content, the way you packaged it was everything, right? And more now we're seeing that community is more important as decentralization is more preferred and people want to be a part of something real and they want to be seen and they want their niche, right, to really show up in the values and the pillars of a company. Community is actually king for real today. And we're actually behind a lot of other countries that have always been doing it this way. Like, you always had to keep it a book. You always had to be real. Like, we always had to know who your people are and where you came from, right? And whether we want to associate ourselves to that line, right? That bloodline. So I just think that's so beautiful, and I think it's an opportunity for a lot of us to be able to go to other markets with that mindset and like really do incredible things across the globe with the access and the tooling that we have today.
I agree. I know, I think Casey, you sent it over, but even the concept for me, as I'm trying to learn and practice Spanish, Duolingo and their AI allowing learners to practice foreign languages, talking about community, or even just expanding opportunities to relate to other communities and interact and engage with other communities. I think it's very important. But also from an article, I think Casey, you also sent me this, but it was about OpenAI CEO, and he was talking about just the ins and outs of creating that AI database, and really homing in on how safety boards have been utilized, but they're left and implemented solely by the investors themselves, which we can automatically see how problematic that is too. So not even, or I think it's cool to see how the prospective community can be even taken further in a sense of not only once this technology is disseminated, we're saying but even having those third-party entities grounded in diverse perspectives to be able to evaluate the risk that might pertain within an AI database or software that's not left into the hands of the investors that are implementing and upholding the software. That's counterproductive. So even engaging community within third-party risk management or safety boards, or however you may call it. I think that also is important. But yeah, I think it really is a cool opportunity, pivotal opportunity. And as we can see from how quickly multiple businesses in different industries are applying AI, it is becoming more prominent in our day-to-day interactions. And so it's to our best interest to do our research, learn it, understand it, and see how it can actually help us who are grounded in mission-based and value-bases that are to uplift minority communities, and for Blaze, Black women entrepreneurs, in order to drive that impact home, knowing that the values and the mission is always at the forefront.
That's shame. Yeah, and I think something that has since a year ago that is getting less buzz now, but I don't think is dead, is Web3, which I would say had the same aspirations, right, of making connectivity quicker and feel more human-like, right? Like when we were talking about the metaverse, and folks still are talking about it and still are building in that market. The whole point was to make it feel like you're sitting in a living room with somebody that's actually sitting in China, right? And broker business deals, or be sitting in your living room, but you looking at the peaches that are sitting in the aisle of a grocery store, and you're choosing which ones you want the shopper to pick up, right? And I don't think that's dead, while we have a very short attention span, right? And it's, whatever sensational for today is what we're buying into. I think that Web3, the metaverse, decentralization, blockchain technology, so on, all of that still has, I think, the same level of promise, of accelerating access for folks who typically don't have it. It's just that folks have not yet figured out how to make it practical enough for use in everyday, interactions. Like, we get it now. AI has been around for a long time too, if we keep it a buck. Machine learning, like big data, like this stuff has been worked on for decades, and they've just now gotten to the point where they understand how to apply it, right, in ways that are meaningful. And I think especially those who are still in that builder's market for Web3, keep building, like, do not stop, because this is only the beginning. But there are so many simulations that need to be ran for folks in sub-Saharan Africa who needs to see how to be more climate smart, or not use pesticides, not use fertilizers. Like, there's so many women who need to see how to be mechanical engineers, right? Who can't necessarily make it to institutions, where this information is housed, and artificial intelligence can only go so far, right? Web3 has so much promise for closing gaps. So keep building, keep trying to make it practical. This is definitely for leaders. It is not about trying to convince folks to use what you want them to use. It is all about creating the things that they want. Period. Like, we should not be changing their minds. Like, we have to figure out how to create solutions for the problems that people actually have today, and believe them when they say it's too hard, it's too clunky, there are too many clicks. Yeah, I'm off that soapbox, but yeah.
But that is so real, Casey, because I have been slow moving with Web3 because of that. Like, the solutions, or like even when I started to hear a lot more buzz around it, it sounded very aspirational and like cool and all these sort of things. But I'm like, okay, but why do I need this?
Right.
And because there was no like direct connection between where I am today with the solution that was being presented, or the offer that was being presented, I kind of just like, okay, well, I'll get to it when I see that there's a need. And so I'm still open-minded about it, because definitely with the idea about like decentralizing currency in particular, that is very attractive to me. But I still am on that, in the camp of, okay, I'm listening, but I don't know how to make this make sense for me right now. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing light to that. And I do, especially with Zubachi, that's the first community that I really even trusted to, like, okay, let me see what this is really about. Casey, can you, for the folks who don't know what that is, can you explain?
Yeah, happy to. So Zubachi is a Web3 ecosystem for Black women to actually trade and do commerce. So the idea is, today we feel obligated to put a price tag on our services, right? Like, this coaching session costs $175. This website build costs $50. And if you think about Black women, like, we actually need a whole lot of things that can be provided by the Black woman across the street. But because we're so beholden to money, the person across the street is waiting to make money, and you sitting with the need, you're waiting to make money, right? When in actuality, there's a value that is to be exchanged, just like currency, right? There's somebody's printing. There's a value on both sides that is to be exchanged. And so how do you actually say the dollar is irrelevant? Like, let me not only barter with my sister, right? Trade in a different currency, but through gamification, the more active I am, the more Zubachi coins I have. And so I'm able to go to another person in the community who might have legal services, right? And that lawyer is able to go to another person in the community who might do, branding, whatever, right? But it is exactly what you're talking about, Toya. Like, this decentralization of our fiat currency system, where we're waiting on folks to print us money, and we're begging banks to give us money, like, literally, right? And we're saying, like, you decide the value, we'll give you a token, right? Because we understand that simplifies it, because of the way we behave, right? Certain communities and more rural places, they know that a head of a cabbage is equivalent to 3 bananas. Like, they just know. And so they go across the street, but we're stuck because of indoctrination. And so Zubachi incentivizes your behavior to come to the community first, because as you move in this community, much like if we were to do this in a Black community every day, if you keep the Black dollar, if you keep the Black currency in our ecosystem today, for those who don't know, literally, statistically speaking, the dollar circulates in the Black community for 6 hours today. 6 hours. 6 hours. 6 hours. And it is because by the time I need to spend something, I'm shopping with a white business, right? I get paid. I need something. I need soap, right? Well, it's already out of the community, right? Because those we have access to, who have websites, who have digital checkouts, who have flyers, who have commercials, etc., they don't look like us, right? And so to keep this currency in the Black community longer, it's contained within a cryptocurrency, if you will. And the more you engage in this community, the more tokens you generate via gamification. And it is meant to just swell and onboard 1 million Black women to the metaverse by 2030.
It's pretty dope. Thank you.
You're welcome. Big shout out to Lindsay Peel. Love her. Was with her in the trenches for about think it was like 18 months building this concept and helping her stand this up. And now she is doing beautiful, 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 beautiful work, leading this cause. So big shout out to the homie. But yeah, and I know we talked about this a lot. I'm sure everybody in the world is talking about this, but speaking of Black women, okay, and these otherworldly things, the Little Mermaid. Oh my goodness.
Going crazy.
Going crazy.
Swipes #1 spot with over $118 million debut on Memorial Day weekend. U.S. Memorial Day weekend box office. Insane. A Black, beautiful princess with locks taking over the media industry in the world. I think I have yet to watch it, so I'm excited to see it on Friday. But I will say I'm just so excited that this movie is prevailing and impacting so many Black girls and Black women, because you'll go to the movie or a theater and not only see the Black girls dressed up as Ariel, but Black women also are being affirmed of kind of the childhood that they were neglected, in the sense of seeing these Black women highlighted as princesses, or even as, I mean, we can go extended, but even as queens in Shondaland's, Queen Charlotte that debuted a few weeks ago, etc. And I can only think about what resonated the most with me growing up as a child. And thankfully to my mom, for the longest, I only knew a Black woman as a princess because the only VHS tape I had was Brandy as Black Cinderella and Wendy as the fairy godmother. Y'all, I know every song, every lyric. Oh, like that is my movie, and it'll always be my all-time favorite childhood movie. And so thankfully, because that was also the one tape that I had, so I just had to play it and rewind it back, and that was the good 10 years of my life. But I will never forget how great I felt seeing Brandy as Cinderella. And then you fast forward a few years later, we have Princess Tiana. That took over. Oh my goodness, Princess and the Frog. So now seeing not only the pivot to uphold Black women as princesses, but also seeing a Black woman with locks, as we all also navigate that now ongoing or continuing presence of uplifting natural hair, which also has been stigmatized in the past. And so now, as we're embracing our natural hair, our beautiful froze, our beautiful texture and coils, and even locks, that is just the most beautiful and affirming thing to see. Like what's taking over the box office, a Black woman, a Black princess with beautiful locks. I think it's showing that, one, when you uplift Black women, it's gonna change the game. Like, it's not just something that we're saying. One, you are supporting a community that's been, ignored and neglected for so long, but also it's something that the people want to see. We're longing to see. And it'll resonate with everyone. It will resonate. Everyone that would be willing to open their minds to let it resonate. Like, we can't go into the people who have closed minds, but if you let it, it will resonate. And yeah, it's powerful.
Yes. So I did go see the movie with my daughter.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Yes. So Hannah, you are absolutely right. It's not just little girls who are excited to see this movie. I went with her, but I also saw other families without kids there as well. And I think for me, just sitting in that theater, it was a very nostalgic moment, of course, because I know, the animated Little Mermaid from my childhood. And so knowing, you know the storyline, but you just sit there in anticipation of like how this new princess is really able to express herself, how she is depicted, even the way that the message like just moves through the storyline through her, and it was really beautiful to watch. Now I will say, going to the movie theater with the 4-year-old, was a little challenging. We went to the bathroom 3 times on some very key moments. So I'm going to have to watch it again. But it was great. It was great. And I think that one of the times that I got pretty emotional during the movie, no spoilers, of course, but one of the times I got really emotional was just I think that message, when you watch it, you'll see, if you as a Black woman in particular are watching this and listening to it, it just really hits home. It really hits home. It really hits home. And it's something that is just kind of a reminder to instill into my own daughter about like using your voice. So we know that's not a spoiler, but like using your voice. I even saw there was an interview with Halle and Melissa McCartney, I believe is her name, who played Ursula the Sea Witch. And she was talking about when they were on set together and they had like these earpieces in, and you could just hear Halle just humming just the most beautiful melodies, like just all throughout the set. And she's like, I don't even think she really knew what she was doing. She's like, I think it's just so deeply inside of her. Like, this is what she is here to do. It's just to sing so angelically and so beautifully. And she uses her gift so well. And that whenever she was hand selected to audition for that role, it was just an obvious and immediate yes. Like, this is our Ariel. This is who we need for this role. And it just goes to show that when you just operate so confidently in your gift without even trying to prove yourself, you just let it just move through you. You let whatever is within you just come out in the most natural way possible. So many doors will open for you that you didn't even have to knock on. You didn't have to knock on those doors to get there. And again, just the message of like using our voice was just the one thing that really stuck out for me with this movie. And, you know, very, very, very motivational. But it's also a beautifully made movie. I don't know how they did it. You know, just you could see like the way that their hair moves in the water, like her locks moving in the water. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, how did they do that? Just a really beautiful piece to consume. But shout out to Halle for knocking it out of the park. She is the princess of our generation, of this new generation, not our generation, I mean, this new generation.
So you say I'm a millennial, not a Gen Z. Y'all, I just realized that Hannah was a Gen Zer 2 days ago, and my mind was blown. Because sis has
Gen Zs out there.
Man, y'all all right with me. Y'all all right
yes.
with me.
Really are like learning so much from y'all, for real.
Learning so much. The Gen Zers show up on the first day of the job and say, "Excuse me, don't call me at 501, and I'm not available on the weekend."
Else to do it, because come on now, we gotta do this properly, and it has to make sense. It has to be funny.
Woo!
Go elsewhere.
Loved it. We crawled so y'all like walk, y'all running, okay?
Sprinting. Goodbye.
Listen, man, Ashe and amen. Definitely go support if you have not supported yet. I have to see when it hits the good old country of Kenya. I hope I'm not waiting too long, because man, I'm not gonna do any illegal things. I will wait patiently, okay, for it to get somewhere that I can pay for, okay? Always good wrapping it with y'all. Appreciate our listeners for tapping in with us. We are here every single week, so definitely hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you the next time. Hannah White is the brilliant mind in strategy. Toya is the guru in all things operation, and I'm pretty fire in finance, if I do say so myself. We are the Fractional C-Suite. Definitely check out our services on blazegroupllc.com/fractional C-Suite. That's blazegroupllc.com/fractional C-Suite. Peace.